Okay, so we're gonna look at this weekly board, and oh my god, so here's what happened, right? I decided to advertise the game on Reddit, which I do from time to time, but I haven't done it in a while. But because I developed this new UI, I was like, okay, I'm gonna advertise it, maybe, get some new players, because it's one of those games where, hey, you play daily and weekly, and no matter how great the game is, you're gonna get bored, right? So it's great if new players come along. And before, when I would post it on Reddit into the subreddit web games, it would usually bring several players, like 4 or 5 people, and these people would tend to stick around for several weeks or even months playing the game. Okay, good. So I posted on Reddit, but the thing that I did before, that I didn't do now, was that I would typically take a look at the daily board, like at the time I'm posting, because some dailies can get really, really brutal and just it's less likely to draw people in if they're struggling with the board. They're getting bad scores, and they're like, "Yeah, this is nonsense," right? I guess you can also argue that a person is really into this sort of optimization puzzle, they'll sort of come along anyway, and maybe they're going to be like a better sort of audience. But it's uh, maybe it's for some people they actually want to ease into it. And hey, like we do have some bad daily boards, but in general, on average, they're okay. And with weekly boards are usually really fun. And I always say, and I'm working right now on these sort of things, right? I have like this stuff written down here. I'm gonna be working on materials. I don't know if anybody's gonna read them honestly, but if you're really into the game and you want to learn more about it, you can read it. There's like basic rules, but I also want to add some geekery into there and like talk more about how the game works, how it's designed, and how do you play it, some tips and tricks, yada yada yada, which I gathered myself from good players, way better players than I am. But yeah, but typically, like I say, that the weekly board is the real Perfectionist. When I just developed Perfectionist, it was this board with 99 blocks. Uh, and I feel like it's just a more fun way to play because you have more options, and the board feels more fun to wrap your head around because it's just like you played uh, for a longer time as opposed to daily, which just disappears, a day later. But anyway, but the thing is, usually a weekly board, if you get into it, if this is your kind of puzzle, is a really satisfying experience. I love weekly boards. That's really like my kind of perfectionist play. And the thing is, this weekly board during these like several days that I'm advertising on Reddit is probably the worst I've played in years. Like it's really bad. So you see, like when you see somebody get like 228, 150, even 100, it's like okay, somebody hasn't really played the game yet. They're an inexperienced player. That's fine. Like that's not a problem. But when like you've played a bit and you get like 71, that's bad. I'm pretty sure I can get it under 70, but yeah, the board is very tough, and so I don't know if this advertising opportunity that I had this week is going to really pan out. The I've seen this anonymous person, probably somebody who came from Reddit because I see them in the daily and in the weekly, and I did get one upvote, which is great. Sometimes in some of these Reddit subreddits you get downvoted immediately if just randomly people who happen to stumble upon the game just didn't like it, so they downvoted. And that always sucks, especially for an independent game developer. And the subreddit has the rule that you cannot post the game again unless 3 months have passed. And so I would, from time to time, post Perfectionist on there, and so it's annoying because. And the thing is, I should have been more careful. I should have actually checked out the daily board first. I should have checked out the weekly board first. For example, last week's weekly was awesome. I started with 67. It went down to 44. Like, and hey, I'm not even the best player. It could have gone further down. Maybe you could get like 30 something out of it. But yeah, this weekly is bad. But hey, let's play it. Let's take a look at it. So you can already see that I've used the big numbers options here, right? If you don't use the big number option, it's a little bit like less easy to understand what's going on. And so yeah, if you're using that, you can just see here's your distribution of big numbers, which can potentially increase your score. So you want to handle these numbers first. You have like right over here a control that allows you to increase the range of what you consider to be big numbers. Because, like, look, there's quite a bit of tens. There are a lot of nines. You know, maybe we could even keep it this way. By the way, I don't have any keyboard controls on this. Potentially, you can, for example, look at only small numbers if you like, right? If you like, you can do this thing, and hey, you now see only the small numbers instead. I just don't know that this is going to be a common option. That's why the keyboard shortcut is only for this thing. So anyway, let's keep it this way, and let's start looking at what we have. We have quite a bunch of ones, not too many. You know, I've seen more, but potentially yes, and we'll see later some options for cheap production of ones. And I have found some combinations that are kind of cool, I think. But yeah, it's generally pretty bad. It's a pretty bad board. A lot of these sort of um, large blocks in the middle of the board are pretty tough because normally you'll get like rid of a lot of the stuff in the middle and then you'll start struggling with the corners. But in this case, it's like the middle is really bad. Okay, so here are some of the things that I found. First of all, we can look at the pairs, right, already available. And I think this is a relatively safe bet. Like, I don't think that we're gonna get it's gonna get better than that. By the way, let me make this the sound maybe a little bit more loud. Okay, so and then the nines, I think we can get rid of them. The fours are a little bit annoying. So here's what I found here, right? We have a 15 and 14 unpaired, so I think this is fine. This is safe to do. So you get rid of the twos, get rid of these, and then you also unlock this line, which also I'm not sure. Like, and later on you'll see. I don't think that this can be useful anywhere else. Well, unless I come up with something right now during this playthrough. Another kind of very cool option is this. We get a cheap one, which unlocks quite a bit here. Potentially, what you can potentially do is you can do this, right? It's like you're losing a lot, but on the other hand, you're doing that. So this could be considered. I won't actually do it right now, but I think this one, sorry, no, we have to move it this way. I think this one is pretty safe. So in fact, I'll even save the first bookmark over here because I think at this point it's unlikely. Again, we're going to be seeing what's not there anymore, right? So there's this also special option. See, you can remove it or you can add it. This is kind of what the new UI allows you to do. But still, it's we can maybe take a look at it and later on realize, actually we shouldn't have removed it. That's the reason it's there. So we can as we're playing through, understand whether we, uh, lost an opportunity somewhere down the line. Okay, so now let's take a look at what we have here. I mean, yes, these guys, 15s, are paired, so that's, I guess, kind of cool, but the downside is that, look, you cannot pair them. So you can, of course, decide to keep them till the end of the game, and potentially it could be possible because they're sort of to the side. I mean, this is bad, right? This is pretty bad, but they're sort of to the side. Maybe we can just keep them till the end of the game. We have two 14s over here. I don't know. I guess like it's gonna be difficult to keep them. We could try, but I don't think so. Yeah, and then there's a bunch of 13s, right? So 13s are paired, but unfortunately, it's just not a very good configuration. That said, right, several of them, except for this one, they are on certain, like they are in lines, horizontal and vertical. So could we potentially get rid of them? Maybe, but here, right, these two, they have a 15 in the middle, so that's kind of bad. So I'm always looking at these two, rather at these three, but at these two possibilities, and I don't know if this is going to work out. And obviously, if we're looking at these two, then the amount of stuff in between is just, whoa, just way over the top. It's like too much. I don't know if we can get rid of it comfortably. I mean, like we can potentially. So the thing that comes to mind is, okay, so let's say that we take a 1, right? And then we take another one. Let's take one from here. And we do this. And boom, we got rid of this. We can save that as one of the options, right? So I guess like this could be done. And then this is a no-brainer because we've used up this 12. I'd still keep the fours. The fours here are very confusing because I'm not sure what's the best use for them. But yeah, so then we have, let's say, these 11s, right? I guess like we could do something here. Not very easy. Like you have a 1, you have a 7. It's not that easy to get rid of the 7 here. Yeah, it's all not it's not good. But okay, another option that I found, well, I played it through, right? I played it through once already. Is this? It's like not so bad, but not as good as potentially could have been maybe, but like here's an option, right? So we're removing a lot of these blocks. And what's got left, we also have like this 6. So maybe we can do that. Potentially what can be done here is either we remove this one and then we do that. I guess like that's an option. Then we have a cheap one here. You know, why not? A one is almost always necessary. Actually, you see, already used up a lot of them. There's another cheap one potentially. That said, you can remove like the 8 like this, but I was removing that when I was playing through and trying to do something with these lines. Now that I'm not, maybe we shouldn't use that and we should instead create another one. And then you've got these 8s over here. So maybe what we can do is we can somehow, let's say we're going to just use up these ones, right? So what we're doing here is we can maybe remove that, this, and so we're getting rid of some of these guys, which is maybe not so bad. And look, the 4s then match up and get paired pretty nicely. So let's say we remove them. Let's keep an eye on them. See, we can see that the 4s were there. So uh, yeah, now we have to think about the 15s. Do we unpair them? Like, for example, do I use my 1 to do this? Because potentially there's a relatively cheap way to remove the 8. Like, fine, we'll lose 3, but that's not too bad. And then we get rid of the 9s. A cheap one, a cheap one. And I guess like at this point I do want cheap ones because there are so many big numbers that I'd rather lose like 3 and 4 and pair like a 13 and a 12 or something like this, as opposed to losing way more score to then later match like 11 and 13, you know, in the end game. So we can go back to this option because right now we need to get rid of blocks, and you can see that without this, for example, there's not a lot of opportunities right now. So let's say that we do this. Yeah, we're losing like quite a bit, but hey, um, what do we have now? So now we're here. Not the best scenario at all, and I'm not seeing any quick wins. I mean, we have already lost 115. We like might as well consider losing another one. But even that, right? Like that's not getting us anywhere. We could potentially do something like this, right? But again, like it's not unlocking a lot. Oh, by the way, I removed the 8s over here, right? But I guess like the next step is to remove this. So this is good. This is good. Uh, okay. Another thing that we could do is we could reduce the block count by continuing to create ones. It will not be as cheap anymore, but it did shave off some blocks like the block number, while continuing to leave us with the same amount of ones. So I guess like that's good. Now, where do you set ones? Because so right, I got 71, but if you look at the stuff that we have right now, right, that's a lot. So it's very easy to still go overboard with this. Um, let's see. I'm just not seeing any good options. And when I played before, I did have a little bit less large blocks when I got 71. Like I've reused some combinations from last time, but I'm Specifically, on purpose, playing it differently this time in case I can find some better options here. I mean, potentially this could be done, right? And then we're sort of just but we lost so much immediately, right? And if we do that, the probability that we're gonna now get to a good score is bad. So yeah, this is a pretty brutal board. And the fact that I advertised today, like I really like, I hope that this would be normal. Like I didn't think that it could be that bad. Yeah, but it is. Well, we can of course do this, right? I guess like this is a very kind of standard, boring maybe approach, but it does the job. But anything else, I'm just not seeing it. Right, and we still have 16 and 207 of things, right, of the overall. So that's potentially we could lose 200 more. Right, there's like the cheapest one possible now is this. That's the cheapest we can do at this moment. So that's pretty bad. And there's really not even a clear way to use it. So for example, if we would do a 2 here, also incredibly expensive, but at least we can do this. Ah, we can't, because I cannot move it around. Yeah, it's so bad. If I were to do this, what does this give me? It's a 6. I guess like we could do this. It's so bad. Um, but then we have 12 blocks left, which means like we're sort of almost there, but boom, and you see, and that's very bad. We're not gonna get anywhere with this. So the full amount is 773, right? So, and by matching things, you're basically reducing the sum. And the fact that we got 71 is interesting. One of the let's look at last week's, for example, right? So last week the amount is also like around 700, right? 741, but we got 44, right? And I'm sure that could be improved. By the way, you can actually look at the solution, right? So you can sort of see how I did it. The dashed block is the first one you click on, and then there's another. By the way, if you make a mistake, that's fine. I mean, in these cases, right, it doesn't matter which order should be in. I guess like in this case as well. When they're different, you can, let's say you make a mistake and you do it this way, you'll immediately see that something is wrong. So you can just go back, do it properly, and then you're fine. So anyway, you can kind of look through that. Yeah, but here we have slightly more. The fact that it's like not, we had like 740 there, and we're having 770. Like it doesn't really matter. But maybe like I'm wondering if there could be a useful metric in terms of the current kind of rated complexity of the board. If you can look at the ratio between the sum that is in the board and the best score currently available. And I wonder if this is going to be interesting. But anyway, that's kind of my thinking, current thinking about the board. Not good, uh, difficult board. There are some cool combinations, but as you see, I couldn't even beat my own score. I mean, like I still do remember how I got there, and I guess like I can play through. And next week, Monday, you'll be able to see this solution if it was the best one. But maybe I'll continue working on it, and at some point, perhaps find a better solution.